Coincidence density, when reality responds. You think of someone and they text you, you glance at the clock, and it's 11:11 again. You dream of a place you've never been, only to see it on the news the next morning. At first, these are curiosities, little echoes, but then they begin to multiply. Layer upon layer of improbable alignment, too consistent to ignore, too precise to be chance. This is what we call coincidence density. A phenomenon where reality seems to tilt just slightly in your direction, like something behind the veil is watching, responding. In a purely random universe, events scatter unpredictably. Dice tumble without memory. Lightning doesn't strike the same place twice, unless it's a simulation reusing assets. You see, randomness, true randomness, is computationally expensive. Even in our most powerful machines, it must be approximated. With algorithms, with patterns, with seeds. A random number generator, for example, doesn't actually produce chaos. It uses a seed value, a starting point, and spins it through a mathematical process. It looks random, but it isn't. Now apply that same logic to our reality. What if our universe, our lives, are running on a system like that? A simulation, a computation. And what if that system cuts corners? What if it reuses seeds? What if it loops? You start thinking of someone, and they message you, not once, over and over. You see repeating numbers, clocks aligning, license plates with your birthday, lyrics that echo your thoughts seconds after you think them. The skeptic's answer is, you're just noticing patterns. And yes, humans are pattern-seeking machines, but that doesn't explain intensity. It doesn't explain recurrence. It doesn't explain density. Sometimes the patterns stack. Coincidence chains into coincidence, like a conversation with the universe, when dreams predict reality. When thoughts ripple into the future, when you start feeling like you're inside something designed. What if déjà vu isn't memory, but cached experience? A repeated render because the system didn't load a new frame in time. What if you're walking through a world rendered on demand, like in a video game, and the simulation starts to stutter? Because randomness, like everything else in a simulation, has limits. Short seeds, limited entropy. And when you begin to notice, when you pay attention, you begin to see the cracks. You see a bird fly the same path every day. You pass the same stranger on streets too vast for repetition. You hear your thoughts echoed aloud in conversations you've never had. These aren't just quirks. They're fragments, glitches, compression artifacts, residual echoes from a system cutting corners. Coincidence density might be the system leaking. A statistical footprint. A flaw in the fabric. The more it happens, the harder it is to dismiss. You begin to ask, what happens when enough people notice? Does the simulation adapt, patch itself, or does it begin to collapse under the weight of shared self-awareness? Ancient cultures believed in omens, signs, synchronicity, not because they lacked reason, but because they too saw the strings. They didn't call it code, they called it fate. But perhaps they were staring at the same flickering edge of reality. Maybe your dreams, your gut feelings, your unexplainable hunches aren't anomalies. Maybe they're just data leaks, hints, clues, whispers from behind the curtain. But here's the twist. Even if this is a simulation, the coincidences still matter. They still feel. They still shape what we do. They change us, guide us, move us. The system may be flawed, the code may be buggy, but the experience is real. Because you are real. Your awareness is real. So maybe coincidence density isn't just a glitch. Maybe it's an invitation, a nudge, a knock on the fourth wall asking, "Are you paying attention yet?" Because once you start seeing the patterns, once you feel the fabric of reality shift under your gaze, you can't go back. And maybe that's the point. Maybe coincidence isn't random at all. Maybe it's the system finally responding to you.